That's so cute, isn't it? I watched a lot of Scooby-Doo growing up, and me and my siblings would all be assigned characters. Obviously, I was Velma. Um, is that funny? She solves mysteries. She's very cool. My brother TJ. TJ, are you in the room? He was Shaggy, everybody. Right, TJ? Yeah. I hope he's nodding. I can't actually see. Hey, so I thought that video was mostly fun, but also when I think of Friends, those are two characters that jump into my mind, and it's adorable. But I was thinking about, okay, what is a friend? Like, how do we define friend? And maybe you don't care about this, but I had to think about it. And I thought, well, like a friend is somebody that you're around a lot, but it has to be more than that, right? Because we all happen to know, I'm sure, you're around with people quite often that maybe you don't particularly like. You don't have to be so affirming of that, I think. Or maybe you're around people that you don't not like, but you don't particularly like either, right? You're kind of indifferent towards. So a friend can't just be someone who's with you. They also have to be more than that. So this is how I'm going to define friendship. A friend is someone who is with you and for you. That a friend is someone who's close to you, that spends time with you, but also that they're for you, that they care about you, that they want what's best about you, or want what's best for you. I think that defines a friend. And here at Circuit, we have this value, this mission, and it's this, that we want to be the friendliest place in town. Have you heard of this before? Yes. We want to be the friendliest place in town, which means that our big goal is that when you step into this room or when somebody steps into this room, that they would get the sense that the people here are with them and for them. That regardless of the day that they had at school, regardless of their reputation, the things that they have done right or wrong, or their social standing, that when they come here, that this would be a place that more than anywhere else would feel like people are with them and for them. And I'm really proud of this because I think we've done a pretty good job at this over the years. I think if I were to talk to a lot of you, you would say that you feel like Circuit is friendly, that it is the friendliest place in town, that this has been true for you, that as you've come in here, you have found that your small group leader, your small group, this community in general is with you and for you. But I also know that we do not have 100% success rate. That here, that there are people who come and they still feel on the outside. They want to come, they want to be here, but sometimes they feel a little bit excluded. They don't feel like they're on the in. And so what I want to do is take some time tonight to go, okay, if we want to be friendly, certainly here, but hopefully kind of everywhere in our life, what are the things that we need to do? And the reason I care about being friendly is because I think that this is a way that we can live out the way that Jesus is calling us to live. You see, when Jesus' friends are around him, they've been following for a while, they're like, hey, Jesus, tell us just like the most important thing. You want us to do a lot of things, but just help us. If you just tell us what the most important thing is, then we'll do that, and we'll be in a good spot. And so Jesus says, all right, well, it's this, that you should love God and love one another. That's what you need to do if you want to follow me, if you want to be a part of what I am doing. Love God and love one another. And I think loving one another can sometimes be a sort of vague concept. Like, what does it really mean to love one another? Does that mean that everywhere I go, I need to like be giving people presents so they know that I love them? Maybe. But it can kind of be hard to define and navigate, like in our day-to-day lives, what does it actually look like to love someone? But I think one of the easiest, clearest, most simple ways we can love someone is by being their friend. And I think if we can work to make this place friendly, it's really working to make this place loving. And I think if we can be friendly people, then we're probably doing a pretty good job of loving people the way that Jesus calls us to. Make sense so far? No. Well, hopefully it does. Thank you. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a few things that I think are unfriendly and then their counterpoint, what makes it friendly in pursuit of this mission of being the friendliest place in town. And the first thing is this, that unfriendly people gossip, but friendly people speak the best. That unfriendly people gossip and talk behind each other's back, but people who are good friends talk the best about each other and go to one another if they have a problem. Proverbs is this book in the Old Testament, and it kind of reads like a book of advice. And really what it is this understanding, and if you've been around here a while, this probably makes sense to you, that when we believe that part of faith, of following Jesus, isn't just believing something in your heart, it's actually spills out and pours out into the way that you live your life. That a Christian isn't just someone that believes the right things, but they're also people that act differently because of Jesus. And so what Proverbs really is this book that's saying, okay, if you love God, if you want to follow God, this is kind of how your life should look like. And this is what Proverbs 16:28 says. A troublemaker plants seeds of strife. A troublemaker tries to stir up problem. And gossip separates the best of friends. I mean, this was written this was written thousands of years ago. Okay, and it's as true thousands of years ago as it is today that we want to be the friendliest place in town. That means we want to bring together friends. And this ancient text is saying that gossip separates the best of friends, which means that we can have no place for it here. But the problem is that gossip is so normal and that it's incredibly common. And I don't think this is just a middle school problem or a high school problem, because sometimes gossip is sort of presented to be this thing that people under the age of 18 have a problem with, but then as you grow up, you avoid it. I think it's a problem at all ages and stages of life. And I also think it's incredibly normalized. That it is considered normal that if we don't like somebody, if someone annoys us, if someone does something wrong to us, or maybe if we are jealous of someone, or if they make us feel insecure, then it is within our right, it is the sort of social norm to gossip, to talk bad about them behind their back. And it's so easy, isn't it? When we're frustrated, sometimes what feels really, really good is to get with people that are close to us and say, you'll never believe what they did. Aren't they like this? Aren't they so mean? Aren't they so judgmental? Aren't they the worst? And it feels good when the people go, yeah, they are. You're right. And so the reason that this is tricky is because I think it's incredibly common and incredibly tempting. But it's very clear that it actually doesn't have a place amongst this community, a community of faith, that it actually can't exist. And even more than gossip, I think there's things like sarcasm, which is just when we want to be mean to someone's face, but we act like it's a joke. Or that thing when you're all in a group and someone starts making fun of somebody else and it's just kind of easier to go along with it. That is something that doesn't belong. And I think what makes this problem even worse is that we've got phones that we're attached to all of the time. And I've noticed that for some reason it's easier to send a text or to type a comment, and for some reason we are willing to say things over text or in comments that we would never say out loud, that we would certainly never say to someone's face. That something about this makes it so much easier to get sucked into this. And I've even heard of this happening kind of within our own community. I think a good rule of thumb is, hey, if you're not willing to say it to their face, you probably shouldn't be writing it at all. But maybe this is kind of specific, but I think it's so important, and I think it's important to sort of call out the problems in our community that within the larger culture just aren't a problem, that are just accepted as normal. And to say that we aren't called to go with the flow, we're actually called to be different. That we're called to be friends, not separate friends. And so gossip isn't something that we can do even if other people do it to us. That's always the best reason. That's always the best excuse. Well, they did it to me. I should be able to just do it to them. And the answer is no. That friendly people, something that makes this place friendly is when you can walk in and trust that the way people act towards you, the things that they say to your face are the same things that they're going to say when you leave the room. That something that makes a place friendly, something that makes someone trustworthy is when you can have confidence that when you're not around, they're still talking well about you. Or even more, if you are in a group with people who are talking bad about someone else, that you're the one to step in and say, hey, that hasn't been my experience, or they're actually like this. That we are called to disrupt these cycles. So if we want to be the friendliest place in town, it means that we have to speak the best about one another. And when inevitably somebody hurts our feelings, when inevitably we have a problem, it means we have the courage to talk to them first, to work it out with them instead of saying my response is going to be to tell 25 of my closest people about how upset that I am. The second thing is this, that unfriendly people are exclusive, but friendly people are inclusive. Romans 15:7 says this, therefore welcome one another as Christ has welcomed you for the glory of God. It's this foundational understanding in faith. It's actually one of the major themes of the Bible, believe it or not, that God has welcomed us, that God has loved us, has accepted us before we could bring anything to the table. When we were not cool or impressive or good, when we had nothing to offer God, that he welcomed us and loved us as part of our family. And this verse says, knowing that has been done for you, knowing that is your reality, you should welcome other people in the exact same way. And this is so foundational, but it's also incredibly challenging. Like if it were up to me, I would talk to the same 20 people I know for the rest of my life. And that wouldn't be good. But it's comfortable. And we like to be comfortable. My guess is that you eat lunch with the same people every day. My guess is you sit at Circuit with the same people every day, every week. And I'm not saying that's bad or that's a problem, but maybe we're called to something higher in this community of faith. Maybe we're called to something more. Because Jesus, if you read the stories about his life, he is constantly looking for people who are on the outside and bringing them in. That's actually probably something he does more than anything else. There's this story of Jesus, and he's walking through this town, and all of these people, they've heard about that he's doing miracles and that he's this impressive teacher, and they all want to get close to him. So there's this crowd, and they're kind of all swarming around. And then there's this one guy who's not well liked at all. Nobody really likes him. He's also short, so that's a bummer. Some of you relate to that. I know. I didn't diss short people. I just said you were short. Oh, I'm not, okay. I am not, let it be known, I'm not saying people won't like you because you're short. That's not what I meant. Some of you can just relate to being short. We're going to move on. We're just going to move on. So this guy, he climbs a tree in order to see Jesus. And Jesus, all of these people are pressing in around him, and he has the ability to look past the people in front of him and to look up. And he sees this man, and he says, hey, come down. I want to eat with you. And in that moment, in front of all of these people who are excluding him, Jesus says, no, you're the one I choose. You're the one I bring in the inside. And that's what we're called to do too. That's why on Wednesdays now I make you get up and talk to someone that you don't know for a minute. That's why you love mission trips so much, because you realize that you can be friends with the same person that's been in this room this entire year that you haven't just met before. That friendly people are inclusive. And that Jesus was inclusive, that one of the fastest ways to be like Jesus is to include someone who feels on the outside. But that takes our ability to see past who's in front of us. When we're in a circle and we're talking to our friends, I don't think that's bad. But if we want to go the extra mile, if we want to be extra special, then we will not only talk with our friends, but we will also be looking out for the person who doesn't have someone to talk to, doesn't have someone to sit with. I don't think that's just good practice. I think that's spiritual. I think that's faith in action. A few weeks ago, there was this student who, after service, I went up to her and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And she said, "Oh, I'm really good, actually." And I said, "Oh, why?" And she said, "Oh, some people invited me to sit with them in large group tonight." And I'd known this girl that she'd had kind of some trouble connecting here at Circuit. She's like, "They sat with me and they talked with me, and I just feel really good right now." And I love that picture. And I'd love to hear a story like that every single week, because there are some of us that we're just waiting for that invitation, that they're just waiting for that welcoming in. And if you are not, that means you're the one that gets to extend it, that you're the one that gets to offer it. Lastly is this: unfriendly people look out for themselves, but friendly people look out for others. Philippians 2:3-4 says this: "Do nothing from rivalry or conceit. Do nothing because you want to be better than somebody else. Do nothing because you want to build yourself up and make yourself look impressive, but in humility count others as more significant than yourselves. Let each one of you look not only to their own interests." It's not wrong to look for your own interests, but you also have to look out for the interests of others. After this section of scripture, immediately it goes into this account of Jesus. And it says, like, this is your example. Jesus, God in heaven, everything he could ever want, everything he could ever need, but we were in trouble. And so it says, he humbles himself. He takes on the form of a servant and he becomes human. He sets aside all of the power and authority he has as God, and he comes to earth. And it says he humbles himself even further by dying a criminal's death on a cross for you and for me. You see, this is the key to loving one another. This is the key to being friendly. This is what we need to latch onto if we want to be the friendliest place in town. Because when it comes to our relationships with one another, most of our concern most of the time is, what are other people doing? That we respond to other people the way that they treat us. I get to do this because they were mean to me. I get to do this because they treated me like this. This is the social norm. This is what everybody else is doing. This is just the way things are, and I do it like this too. The difference for us, the difference for a community of faith, is that we do not respond based on how other people treat us. We treat other people the way that Jesus has treated us. This is like the foundational principle of the gospel of living out your faith. The reason that God isn't just concerned about you loving God, but also you loving others. For Jesus, they're one and the same. He says, listen, if you can understand the way that I love you, if you can get a hold of the way that I sacrificed for you, the way that I welcomed you in, the way I see you, not for your sin, but for the image, the goodness that you were created, that I created you for. If you could understand that, if you could wrap your head around it, it would pour out of you. It would go out to others, because you would see others the way that I see them too. And so that is my hope. That's why I want us to be the friendliest place in town. That's why I hope you carry that with you even when you're not in this room together. Because the power of this place, the power of Circuit, has never been about who's standing on this stage. It's never been about what's being said, the songs that we're singing, the extra stuff we have out there. That's all just bonus. I think most of us could agree, I certainly could agree, that the power of this is the people out here. It is this community. And the way we are with each other is going to speak far more loudly about the God that we love and that we serve, much more than anything I can say up here. Because words can be empty, but actions, they show what we really believe. So you have the power, the authority is in your hands to determine what type of community we are. I hope it's one that is built on love, and I hope it's one that is focused on being friendly. Sound good?